Okay, Jay, so this is Barry. I'm going to give you a little rundown of the UPR Tech cv600. Alright, let's turn it on. There is a button right here. Powers up, turns green when it's on. And then we get the basically introduction screen that's going to come up. Now it's going to ask us to dark calibrate. Do you want to dark calibrate? You click yes. Put the cover on, which there's the cover right here. Click OK. It takes a minute or two for it to do its thing. Dark calibration is finished. Click OK. So now we're at basically the introduction screen. This one has on the touch screen here the basic, the spectrum, the CRI, flicker, and filter. Okay, we're going to just kind of go in order and start with the basic. So the basic right now is going to give you a lot of options. You can go through the basic menu by clicking on the actual like deviation or CRI, and that's going to give you the bigger menu. Now here in the menu you've got all your different things to choose from. Correlated color temperature, your color rendering index, TLCI, your lux and foot candles, coordinates, peak wavelengths, delta UVs, all that stuff is listed right here in the thing. So you're going to choose what you want. Now CCT is usually the first thing that it comes up with, the basics. That's correlated color temperature. It's going to give you what the color temperature is. CRI is another good one to have. I usually do like a foot candle or a lux, and then a lot of times I'll show a TLCI, or I'll look at something specific like an R9 or a R13 value, just to give me an idea of a red or a green color, even a blue too if you want to on R11. So that gives you the ability to choose what you want and to take a reading. So I've got a light set up off camera here. I'm just going to do a quick reading of it. Gives you the beeping noise for the thing. Right now our light is running at about 5800 degrees Kelvin, 96 CRI, 230 foot candles because it's a couple of feet away from me, and my R13 is about 96. So it's going to give you all that good information that you can kind of go through and see what works for you, as well as just give you the general information that you would need when you're testing a light. Okay, that's pretty much what the basic does. Up here at the top you'll see basic and then auto, and then you've got a target, and then you've got the actual battery indicator. So you can either go auto or manual. Manual doesn't last as long. If I take a reading real fast, it just beep beep, there it goes, and that actually gives me what I need real quick. On this guy right here you can do multiple readings, is what that little circle means, and it's going to take multiple readings over a period of time, and we're going to see the Kelvin change because I pointed away from the light. So, and then you can turn that off and go back to just a single reading if you want to do that, and then obviously the battery indicator. So that's what the basic does in a nutshell, giving you all those different things to be able to see what it is that you're doing. Alright, so let's go into the next one. That would be the spectrum. So right now I have the spectrum up, and it's going to give me the eye time as well as the peak wavelength value. Now I'm going to take another reading of the light that's just off camera here. That's what that light looks like in a peak wavelength. Now in a spectrum you're starting at 380 nanometers to 780 nanometers. You may already know all this stuff, but I'm just kind of reiterating. Obviously our highest on the eye time, it takes 100 milliseconds for it to do it, and our peak wavelength is 456 nanometers, which is the blue spike we see right there. So that's just basically what the spectrum is. Makes it simplistic for you to sort of see what the light is and see all the color in the spectrum itself. We're going to go back home now to the home page, and we're going to talk a little bit about CRI. Okay, I'm sure you know pretty much what CRI is. Basically this meter is going to give you a reading of all 15 patches, not just what we call the limited CRI, but a full CRI, and give you the values as well. You can actually adjust what you want as far as what it is you're looking at specifically. CRI is 96 on this light. Specifically R8 right now is a 95.7. Okay, so which is the little pink line. And you're allowed to change what you want so that you can look at different patches depending on what it is that you want to kind of focus in on. Okay, go back home again, Okay, so we're back home. I'm going to do the filter before we jump to flicker. So let's go to filter. Alright, so in talking about the filter, you're basically looking to see how to match two lights so that the color temperature is the same depending on the gels that you're using. Alright, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go into settings, and then I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to find filter brand. You see right there it says filter brand. Okay. This allows me to choose which filter brand I want to use. Now, what I have here is a Rosco swatch, so that's the one I have to choose, but I've got Lee, Fujifilm, I've got, hang on, let me go the other way, Kodak, and those are the four that I've got to choose from. So I'm going to go back to Rosco because that's what my swatch is. I've got the brand and some other things in here that I'm going to go through for you here in just a little bit. Let me go back. Okay, so I'm back on filter. Okay, so we're back on filter, and then I've got my Rosco gels here with me. Okay, so what we have up here is the correlated color temperature. That's at the CCT 5681 Kelvin. My target is 5600, but I'm going to change that here in a second. Correlated color frequency, and then light balancing frequency. So those are going to come up here in just a second when I take a measurement of the light. So to start off with the filter, I'm going to hit target, and it's going to give me like a little calculator screen. And my target here is going to be 3300 Kelvin. That's what I want my target to be. So right now my light's reading 56, and I want my target to be 33. So I'm going to take a quick reading of the light off camera, and then it's going to tell me basically what I need to do. Alright, so since it didn't give me my correlated color frequency, it's giving me the two gels that I can use with that. It's also showing me on the graph where it is. So right now 3300 degrees Kelvin is what my square is, and my reading that I just took is 5832, so it's telling me I need to use more of a yellow gel. Now obviously we know that. And the AB and the GM readings are basically giving me light balancing index as well as correct color temperature index. 13160A is giving me it's more of the amber, and then the G itself just means that it's like right up on the amber and green. That's my understanding of how this little square works. So what I would do now is go through my swatch, find 3408, which is right in there, 3404, 3421. There it is. I see it. So basically it's like it's a CTO is what I'm looking for. 09, 10. There it is, 3408. It's a half CTO from Rosco. So that's what I would use basically to change that light into 3300 degrees Kelvin. Now obviously this is something I know you know how to do, but that's how it works right here on the meter. So alright, stopping there. Okay Jay, so we're back to the home screen, and we're going to start with flicker. Alright, so flicker is basically allowing you to adjust to a light's flicker, doing it if it's 120 hertz, 160 hertz, or whatever you want to do. Now, it starts with the camera's frames per second. You can put in the average, you know, what would it be, 30 frames per second. Click OK. Take a reading from the light. It's going to give you to execute. Again, it takes it a couple of seconds on this one because it actually has to take multiple readings when it's doing it. So at 30 frames per second, the frequency is about 2 nanometers, not really nanometers, I'm sorry, it's about 2 milliseconds. And the percentage of that is 10.61%, and then it gives you an index of like 0.02. What all this really means is this light would pass if you're shooting at 30 frames per second. Now, this actually uses a separate photocell right here than the one that we use for all of our other readings. So it's all integrated into the actual unit. If you go up to a certain percentage, I want to say, I think it goes up to like 90,000. Eventually you'll go to the point, depending on the light that you're using, that you could have it fail, and what you'll get here instead of pass is an NG for no good. and that basically tells you that that light is no good. The light I'm using right now actually is very good, so I can go up. I'll just try 10,000 on my frequency percentage, and let's see what we change. It's going to take a second for it to execute. So now my frequency is at 15,824 with a 20.58 percentage, but it's still like an index of 0.2. But the big thing again, it passes. This light wouldn't flicker if I'm shooting at such a high frame rate. Okay? Basically, in a nutshell, that's what flicker does. Alright, let's move on to exposure and these other guys. So, exposure first. With exposure, you can actually, up here at the top where it says exposure, you can go with your exposure value, which is EV. You can go with time, frame rate, or aperture, and then time and frame rate together, where you can make adjustments to the shutter, 125th, 160th, 130th. We can go back to 160th, click yes. We can adjust our aperture. We're shooting at, obviously these are all things at a 5.6. Take a reading from our light, what our light's falling on, and it's going to give you a lux reading as well as your ISO is at 250 ISO. So it's giving you that. It does not give you the exposure value. You have to actually be in exposure value for that to work. Now, when you're in exposure value, though, you can't adjust your shutter or your aperture. It's kind of there. What you want to do with this is take a reading from whatever it is that you might be obviously trying to light, and it's going to give you your exposure value for a +9.5. This is a very simplistic exposure meter. I don't know how much in detail you want to go with it, but it works for what it is that you're trying to do. Alright, let's go back to the home, and then we can go to CIA 1931. Obviously we have our, what I call the horseshoe, which tells us where our color is and where our white is along the black body radiator line. For the reading I just took, it tells you in 31 the X and the Y coordinates, obviously Y along the side, X along the bottom, and where we are for the white point for the light that I just tested. You can also go up here to 31 and you can change it to 76. It's going to give you the U and the V coordinates and where our white point is along that specific meter. So then we'll go back to home. The other two options you have left on the screen, your browser. Now you can also put in a card like an HDSC card and record your readings in an Excel format as well as some JPEGs of the spectral. So depending on what you want, if you want to do multiple lights, you can actually do different types of lights and take different types of readings. That's pretty much what that does. Okay, we'll go back, and in your options you have your backlight, your power settings, which allows you the different languages, the dates and times, and we'll scroll down here. Storage, since there's no SD card in there, we don't have anything yet. What version of the software it is, and obviously how much power we have left on the battery. So, now what comes with this as well is also a wing card. Now the wing card slides right in where the SDHC card is, and the wing card is a wireless Wi-Fi card. You can hook up a device, whether it be a tablet or your phone, and actually you can show the software that UPR Tech uses, which is still called the MK350 Plus software. But you can control this device with the software using the Wi-Fi card. All you're doing is pairing up the device with your device, tablet, phone, whatever it might be, and then you're basically allowed to put this any place you want to and capture readings for whatever it is you might need. Now, my experience, I found that that works really well for testing more than anything else, but you could use it on set if you wanted to get multiple readings of different lights. So that's basically everything I have about the cv600. Obviously this is the capture button on this side. You saw the photocell and the flicker cell, SD card. This is the charging USB to export stuff out. This is the actual charge port, so you can plug in the AC power supply. This little guy right here is the reset button. It will reset back to factory settings. So that's pretty much all the pieces that we have here on the UPR Tech cv600. If you have any more questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.